Many events have occurred in the past 24 hours, and there is one major setup that has not failed in the past 8 years that we're going to be discussing in today's video with a big focus on what that means for price action, I suppose in the more medium to long term here. But in the short term, Bitcoin did, more importantly, achieve its closure that we were looking for yesterday and continues with that short-term bullish buy. So let's get into the daily price statistics right here. Thursday is actually it's the most likely day to close negatively out of any weekday since this bull market began in 2023, with just under 56.5% of all Thursdays closing negatively during that time. Of course, as always, we care most about the average percent gain and the average percent loss for Thursdays, giving us an indication of kind of the boundaries for the daily range, if you will. To the upside, that'd give us an upwards boundary of around 116, 150. To the downside, to give us a nice little boundary to just below 112. I think it's a little more likely for the upside of this one to maybe get hit today, if any one of these is going to get hit. And we've seen, these boundaries be hit many times since we started referencing this data. Typically on the first pass, whichever boundary that you hit first, you're going to see a bounce in the opposite direction from that boundary getting hit. So from here, you'd see a pullback. From here, you'd see, a bounce. And if you've been short-term time frame scalping that, it's been pretty crazy, honestly. Anyways, we'll get off that one. Price tag statistics, as always, available in Caretaker's indicator suite. But I need to get into some more pertinent price action pertaining to the relevant close of yesterday's daily. Bitcoin did close above the past Thursday's high from the 4th September, which was critical for maintaining that short-term bullish buys with targets continuing to the upside. So that brings up the question, what sort of indicators can continue to support that short-term upside is more likely than not? And where would the targets be if Bitcoin continues to leg up here? And of course, there are still the indications that we looked at on yesterday's video very much present. The 2-day time frame obviously confirmed hidden bullish evidence. This was actually in the very beginning portion of September, but the 3-day time frame is now on the verge of confirming its own hidden bullish evidence right here, which it will naturally, especially if Bitcoin closes next 3-day above about 113, which doesn't close tonight, but close tomorrow night. So on Friday's closure, if Bitcoin's still above 113, that one gets confirmed. And that alongside daily and 2-day time frame stochastic momentum does suggest, we're going to continue to see upwards momentum on price action. Daily time frame right here continues the upside as long as Bitcoin's above 110. I think that's quite likely for today. The 2-day time frame also continued to the upside as long as Bitcoin's above 111, 150. That one also closing today, I should add as well. And then the 3-day time frame, which is also closing today, this one's a lot higher at 118, 650. I'm curious to see where that pivot comes down to for tomorrow's video, or tomorrow's live stream, I should say. Or actually, sorry, I forgot to mention, I'm not going to do a live stream tomorrow. I do have an appointment that I need to get to. But ultimately, I don't think that this one's going to be reclaimed today, just personal opinion. Anyways, 118, 650 is still kind of far away from current price action. So yeah, the indicators and whatnot do support continuation of this move. Again, in this case to the upside, the short-term bullish bias continues to remain here. However, as we'll go over a little bit later, I do want to now outline a slight change into how to define this one as a trap actually emerging. But until then, again, short-term upside still more likely. And that brings the question, where are targets? Where are targets? Well, the targeted range for ribbons over here. Ribbons. It's fucking hard to say. Need something that's smoother, man. We need something that's smoother. Ribbons. This short-term targeted zone in the cyan box right here has actually moved down significantly from yesterday's video to today. You can see now Bitcoin is basically right in the middle of it. So that is more or less satisfied. And then we can see that the next major area of interest is going to come down to about 115,400, which would be the top side of that zone. Of course, if Bitcoin does take a leg up above there, I mean, it is free range, of course. But in this case, yeah, looking at that next region about 115,350, 115,400, that's the next area of interest for this move continuing to the upside. And on top of that, of course, we do have, if I bring up my chart over here, or maybe it's on this chart. Hold on. Where is it? Where is my charts? Yeah, we do have Fibonacci retracements showing areas of interest basically somewhere around the 50% level, which is that 115.5 number or so. And then the 618, which is, 117, and a half or a little bit more. Also in alignment with that last local high that we did see from Friday, the 22nd of August, actually a pretty important one as well. So ultimately, as long as Bitcoin, again, is above about 113, direction remains the upside, and those next areas of interest are more or less on the board, and more likely than not, again, as long as Bitcoin is above 113, or what is more or less today's wick low, depending upon which exchange that you're on, any sort of a higher term time frame closure below there, yeah, that's probably going to be good enough. But in this case, we can see something very interesting here on the 4-hour time frame. The white moving average has been holding in a lot of the major highs for Bitcoin since since about the middle of August. Priorly, it was holding in a lot of the major lows for Bitcoin's uptrend, but now getting the highs for the 18th of August here, and then also the most recent one, the 22nd of August right here. And Bitcoin's once again right at it, kind of grinding against it. So if you do want to be, I guess, the most unoptimistic for current upside price action, it's possible that a high does get printed here. But again, I would really highlight the importance first, personally, before confirming any sort of a trap sort of action, that Bitcoin must come back down basically below about 113 and preferably close a daily dildo below there. If you see something like that, then yes, it starts to look like yet another lower high and a series of lower highs as Bitcoin continues to go and grind, further to the downside. On top of that, I did want to hold on, just making sure that I'm hitting everything right here. Yeah, I won't bring up the meta signals target as well. It's just, you've already seen that a million times. Basically, it's mid 115 as well. So we see a lot of confluence around there for continuation. And again, as long as Bitcoin's above 113, upside is still more likely. But yes, as we'll go over a little bit later, there are some real tangible concerns with this current move, bringing Bitcoin into like a new mega uptrend or anything like this. That's really my main concern. I just need to make sure that I'm actually recording, my microphone's working, because I just recorded a full video and my microphone was not on. Fucking great, man. Fucking great, Crown. You idiot. Anyways, yes, I have really good self-talk, as you can see. Very good self-esteem. Anyways, hey, my price action pivots continues to not be updated right here. What the hell? Why is TradingView not remembering that? All right, we'll fix it now. Fix it now. Okay. Yes. Now moving on. We spoke about that. Also pertaining to potential, considerations for a rejection here, we can see that on the daily time frame, the RSI is already higher than what we saw from the 21st and 22nd of August. That was this high over here when Bitcoin was at just below 117. Why is that significant that the RSI is already higher than there? Because then exists the possibility for hidden bearish divergence. Again, not confirmed, to be very fucking clear. And for the lobotomized morons who do not understand the difference between short-term, medium-term, and long-term, for fuck's sake, this is not going to go over well. But short-term, again, remains bullish. But there is potential for hidden bearish divergence because this exists over here. How do we confirm hidden bearish divergence? It would require a local high to be confirmed here. How would Bitcoin confirm a local high here? It would need to come back down and specifically close below 113. At that point, you got a local high and hidden bearish divergence confirmed, and Bitcoin continues with trend effectively. Now, what is also on that side, and what is the sort of title of this video alluding to? Well, it's actually something very, very important here that we brought up a little bit over the past week and a half, but I want to bring some new information into it right now. So for the past year, for the past 8 years, anytime we've seen that red moving average cross to the downside of the yellow moving average, we've seen a minimum correction to the green moving average. We've seen this across, by the way, many of the higher term timeframes now. We saw it on the 12-hour first, then the daily, then the 2-day, then the 3-day, now the 4-day. So this has happened many times already in this current cycle, and I can show you some examples right here. Again, this is not a setup to actually play in terms of a position. It is a great setup, however, for directional YouTube analysis for just a general audience. But yeah, minimum correction down to the green moving average. It obviously drops significantly more, but this one happens very, very quick from the initial cross. Same thing over here. This one over here took 1, 2, 3 bars from the signal to the close, and that minimum corrective target being hit. This one over here, immediate. This one over here, immediate. This one over here, 1, 2, 3 closures until it did hit that target. Immediate, 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 immediate. Again, going all the way back to 2017. This has not failed once. And so in this current iteration, yeah, Bitcoin is rallying here. How many bars are we into this signal now? It is 1, 2 bars. The maximum we've seen in the past is 3 bars. And that's not to say it's always going to be a maximum. Of course, given enough time, we expect these things to have more variance. Fucking duh. Fucking duh. But if we are going to go with that sort of assumption that, hey, 3 bars is kind of where we expect a lot of these signals to really find at least that minimum target, well, what would 3 bars put us at? That would put us at the That would put us basically at like between Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 14th, and Thursday, the 18th. So Sunday to Thursday coming up. So basically, between a few days from now to all the way up to about a week from now. What happens during this time frame that is also of significance? Well, as everyone knows, the Fed is going to meet next week, I think Wednesday probably, and they are going to potentially cut interest rates. And probably people now are saying, hey, I've done 5 seconds of research on the internet, and I know that when the Fed cuts interest rates, that's bullish. And you're right, it is bullish. If we do a back test of all of the Fed interest rate cuts over the past 40 years, especially when prices, already near all-time highs, it has led to higher prices if you fast forward a year out every fucking time, and like decently higher too. Now this is obviously using, major US indices as the study, but Bitcoin, I imagine, falls under that umbrella anyways, because, well, I mean, it's obviously correlated. Anyways, yes. So, but what about in the short term? Well, if you were to do that same study for just a month out, so between the Fed rate cut decision and the next 30 days, almost every time, I believe in the past 20 years, at least, we've seen lower within that first 30 days. So does that kind of correlate with that? Potentially, yeah. It very well potentially could. Again, if you're on this channel, understand my perspective. My perspective is that I'm always going to be biased towards whatever situation has the higher probability of playing out. That does not mean I'm always going to be right. Of course, I'm naturally and 100% logically going to be wrong for some of those biases, because not always does that play out like that. Fucking duh. But more often than not, it does. So that is the guiding principle that I use on a channel like this. If you understand that, I mean, that's fucking great. If you don't, I don't know why the hell you're here, to be honest. But yes, so my bias remains towards, again, short term, does this move continue? Probably, yeah. I mean, this would be the time for it. A lot of alts, have taken this moment to put in some decent rallies as well. But if you ask my opinion, do I think Bitcoin's going to make new highs from here? It would be not on this current move. I would expect a more prolonged sideways and downside move. And overall, I do think that this really bodes well for a more healthy and long-term bull market, if you even want to call it that. What I mean to say is that a longer correction here opens up the doorway for a much longer cycle. And I would imagine probably even into early 2026 if that were to occur. But for right now, with Bitcoin, doing what it's doing, if it were to make new highs from here, first it'd be, statistically less likely, and then second off, it would lead me to believe that, okay, I guess this is the parabolic blow off top. Cycle's probably done for a long time after that whole thing is over. So fair enough. Be careful what you wish for is kind of my perspective here. Anyways, all of this seems, like I said, so so unimportant after the events of yesterday, and also, I mean, today's fucking 9/11, right? I mean, goddamn, man. Talk about just a terrible past week, between the Ukrainian and North Carolina, I think it was, and Charlie Kirk yesterday. I mean, shit, man, even if you don't agree with this guy, like, for fuck's sake, it's not good for anyone for these things to be happening. Like, I asked myself the same question, especially for the people who are like celebrating this. I mean, pretty fucking sick. But, I asked myself the same question, like someone who I disagree with. So I disagree strongly with Ma'am Donnie, who's running for mayor in New York City. I probably disagree with more than 80% of everything that comes out of his mouth, maybe even 90%. And that's significant. Would I be happy if he was killed? No, because I understand it would not be good for anyone, because ideas like that are better. I mean, first off, if you kill someone like that, they become a martyr and their ideas become stronger. But second off, it's more efficient and better for everyone to just kill ideas like that with better ideas. And so yesterday's event, man, it's like, even if you're on the other side, even if you're like the most ardent of fucking leftists who just, I mean, you're so far gone. It's like, even from a strategic standpoint, I would think that those people would also hopefully think that that's a terrible thing to happen. But yeah, man, fucking cut it on that one. I don't even know why. Like, I don't really follow the guy too much. I don't agree with everything he says, that's for sure. But for fuck's sake, man, that was just sad. That was just fucking sad. It makes me sad. It makes me legitimate sad. And I think a lot of people out there are kind of feeling the same way as well. So just, hey, man, you're not alone. I don't really know what to do about it, to be honest. I don't know what to do. But just know that, you're not alone. And I think the majority of people still would look at that as a heinous act. Hopefully. And yeah, man, that's really all that I got to say about that. You obviously got, if you're tuning into this right now, you don't give a fuck about those sort of things, or at least you don't come to this channel for that. Fair enough, man. I'll get off my my high horse here. But yeah, I don't know, man. Just think about his fucking family. Like, someone has to tell those kids that their dad's never going to come back ever again. It's fucking rough, man. It's fucking rough. Anyways, there's it for your magical internet money analysis of the day. Hopefully there is something positive in there. As always, I want to wish you the best of the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow for a non-live stream day.